everybody. Welcome to the Lunenburg Public Library. I don't know how many of you had an opportunity last year to participate in a cool program that we did here called Winter Sowing. We have a member of our community who is an excellent gardener, and she's sharing her expertise and her years of experience to teach us how to get some seeds started now so that when the weather turns warmer again, as we all know it will. So it just gives you a little bit of a jump start. So we have Robin Venezia here with us today, and she is, some of you, when you see her, you may recognize her. She's a chairperson for the Friends of the Library, and she does membership. I'm sorry, she does the membership for the Friends of the Library. So welcome to Robin.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you, Colby, for taping this for us today. As Debbie said, my name is Robin, and I have been using the winter sowing gardening technique for the last 10 years or so. And what I like about it is it's a kind of ecological gardening in that you are using nature to do some of the work for you to get better results. So basically, winter sowing is planting seeds outside in the winter, using nature to get better results. So it's a fun technique, it's economical, it's easy. I hope you like it. So today I'm going to show you how to use the kits that we put together. We couldn't have an in-person workshop this year, so we're doing kits. I hope you have fun doing them at home. The library is offering 2 different kits this winter, one with Partridge Pea seeds, shown on the left, and one with Hist Hop seeds, shown on the right. The Partridge Pea is an annual legume that blooms from July through September. Native bees rely on it for pollen to feed their young. This plant works with soil bacteria to fix nitrogen from the air. If you leave the foliage in the garden after the plant dies, it will release that nitrogen into the soil as it decomposes. The Hist Hop is a short-lived perennial that blooms from June through September, providing nectar for a wide variety of pollinators. In the fall and winter, the seeds of both plants provide food for local songbirds and will happily reseed themselves if they are planted in a suitable location. Okay, the first thing you should do is get all of your equipment together. You're going to need a clear or semi-translucent container. For this kit, we ask that you use a milk jug or a fruit jug like this, because all of the soil and the sand and the seeds are pre-measured to fit this container. But you can use anything. You can use soda bottles, you can use fruit juice containers. I even reuse my lettuce containers with the lid on top. So there's lots of choices, but we're going to be using the jugs for the kits. You also need to make sure that you have something sharp for cutting. Can be a table knife, can be scissors. You can use box cutters. Use what you have at home. You shouldn't have to buy anything for this project. You want some duct tape to close it up when you're finished. You'll want a spray bottle. Although if you don't have a spray bottle, you can probably use a teaspoon and put a little bit of water carefully on that way. And if you have a jar of water, I have a little bit more than 2.5 cups of water measured out ready. Also helpful sometimes a ruler and a marker. Not necessary, but sometimes it makes it easier. And last but not least, you'll need your kit. You have to get your kit from the library when it's ready. And inside your kit, you're going to find pre-measured soil. If you choose the Partridge Pea kit, you'll have sand. Each kit will have either Partridge Pea seeds or Hist Hop seeds. The Hist Hop seeds are pre-mixed with sand. And each kit will have a lovely label telling you about the flower that you choose and how to take care of it. And then there will be instructions on how to choose a place when you're ready to transplant it outside in the garden. Let's see. So I think we have everything. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing that I would say to do would be to take your soil and dump it in any kind of a mixing container. Sometimes I use a big metal bowl. This lettuce container works out really well. It's just regular potting soil, nothing fancy. You don't want to use garden soil because garden soil straight from the garden will get too hard. So you need the potting, non-soil potting mix. And then don't add all 2.5 cups of water, just maybe add about 2 cups of water. And if you need more, you can add it later, but you don't really want it to get too wet. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside and let it absorb the water. And while that's absorbing, we can start getting our jug ready. The first thing you want to do is take off your lids, if you have a lid. If you have a label that might be blocking the sun, anything over, say, 3 inches. I mean, I could have left this on. It's no big deal. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to cut starting here at the base of the handle. I want to cut all the way around, stopping here, so you have about a 1-inch hinge on the jug. And if you've never done it before, you can measure 3 inches up and make marks. If that will help you keep your line straight. It's not necessary, but it's sometimes helpful. So, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So some people use an X-Acto knife for this. I find scissors work really well. And if the hinge size is right, it should, maybe a little bit smaller, it should bend back very easily. So what you're doing is you're kind of making a little cold frame for your seeds.
That's right.
A little cold frame. So then the next most important thing is to make drainage holes, because too much water and your seeds will drown and rot, and you don't want that. So we're going to make drainage holes. And to protect the lovely table at the library, I brought this to protect it, but you could just hold it up in the air and do it. Just be careful, knives are sharp. Somewhere between 6 and 10 drainage holes. I like to do 4 on the sides, the lower sides. And at least 4 on the bottom. And that's going to make sure that the water doesn't collect and drown the seeds. Okay.
So you don't need an actual hole, you're just making a slit.
I'm just making a slit. If you
Okay.
want, you can use a nut pick or an awl or a nail. You can make round holes, but I've found that the slits work
Or
fine.
it's enough.
Yep, and if you feel like you want to make a couple more, that's okay too. All right. So I took off the cap. You want to save the cap until later because it will come in handy in the spring if we ever have really severe rainstorms. You can temporarily put the lid back on to protect the seeds or the seedlings if we're in a downpour. But most of the time there won't be a lid. Most of the time You want the rain and the snow to fall in there because that's how you're going to keep your soil wet. So once your container is prepared, then we can go back to our soil and mix it. And if there's any dry places left after mixing it, just add a little more soil. You want your soil damp, but not soggy and not dripping. So I just mix it up, and it'll turn into that really nice dark chocolatey color, right? It's a nice dark color.
Yum.
So there shouldn't be any dry clumps. It should all be nice, universally moist. And if you pick up a handful, it shouldn't be dripping. It should be damp and moist. And if you squeeze it, water will come out. But if you're just holding it in your hand, there shouldn't be any dripping. And it looks like mine is nice and mixed. So the next thing I'm going to do is take the soil and put it right into the jug. And really any kind of potting mix will work, any seed starting mix. So the next thing you want to do is kind of gently tamp it down so you make a nice firm bed for your seeds. Nice firm bed. And it should be at least 2 inches high. The soil line should be about at least 2 inches. So I'm leaving a little bit of soil, and I'll explain why later. So I'm at the stage where it's exactly the same process if you chose the Partridge Pea kit or if you chose the Hist Hop kit. But now it's going to get a little bit different because each seed needs a little bit of a different treatment. So first we'll talk about your Partridge Pea kit. If you choose the Partridge Pea kit, you're going to have seeds that are maybe 1/8 of an inch in size. I don't know if you can quite tell, but you'll get a little bag in your kit of the seeds. And what you're going to do is reserve about 1 handful of soil, about this much soil, and take those little seeds, and I want you to arrange them on, arrange them so that they're not touching and across the entire surface of the container. So I don't think you can really see, but I'm dropping them about 1 inch apart or 1/2 inch apart. I don't know if that will show up on the camera or not. Can you see the seeds on the camera? Oh, you can. Okay, good. So when it's nice and evenly covered, then you can take the remaining soil and sprinkle it lightly over the seeds. And you don't want to cover it by more than about 1/4 of an inch. So you don't want to keep too much of the soil to put on top. You don't want to bury them. 1/8 of an inch, actually 1/4 is probably too much, 1/8 of an inch. And then the next thing in your kit will be a little bag of sand. And the reason I use the sand is I find that it helps the soil stay in place if it does rain a little bit harder, or and it also can help with dampening off problems. That's where fungus attacks the seeds because it's too moist. That's usually not a problem with winter sowing because you're outside, you're not in the artificial inside. So just spread the sand across the top uniformly. there won't be enough for you to use too much in the kit. So it looks something like that. And then you can take your water bottle and just make sure it's damp. And the dampness, the water will make sure that the seeds are in good contact with the soil. And you are finished with the Partridge Pea. But we have another kit, and that is the Hist Hop. Let me tell you about the Hist Hop. The Hist Hop has beautiful purple spiky flowers, and it produces abundant nectar for bees, butterflies, moths, hummingbirds. They all love it. And if you have enough blooms to share, they're also edible. So you can sprinkle them over your salad. The leaves are edible in a salad. They're kind of a sweet licorice taste. People also decorate their desserts with the flowers. So I pre-made a container so you wouldn't have to look twice. It's exactly the same as this one. You wouldn't have to watch me make it twice, but it was made the exact same way with the holes on the bottom and the sand inside. But the seeds are tiny when you do the Hist Hop. They're just tiny, tiny. So I've mixed them with sand to make it a little bit easier to scatter evenly across the surface.
That's a great idea.
Thanks. And these seeds need light to germinate. See, the cool thing about winter sowing is it's outside and you can use the natural conditions. So if you know what the seeds need, you can use winter sowing to achieve that. So I'm just going to sprinkle the seed sand mixture all evenly across the top. And I don't think you can see the seeds, but you can probably see the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And just like the other, when we did the Partridge Pea, we're going to spray it with water, but we're not covering it with soil. We want the seeds to have access to the light so they'll germinate when they're ready. So this is going to be enough to give it good contact with the soil if we spray it. There we are. So we're finished. We're ready to close it up and protect it for the winter. So I use duct tape to close it back up and make it a nice secure little cold frame. I do one tab opposite of the hinge. The hinge is on this side. So one tab kind of holds it into place. Then you can use the duct tape to seal it up. You don't have to do it all in one piece. Sometimes it's actually easier to do it in multiple pieces. Close it all up.
That may be the most challenging part of the project.
Might be. I meant to have pre-ripped tabs, but I forgot. So this one was the Hist Hop. So inside your kit are these lovely labels. And if you tie them, they will be laminated inside the kit. If you tie them to your jug, you will know what you planted. And you will know how to take care of it in the spring. So you might be wondering, what do you do now? You go outside and you find a flat place in your yard that's protected from the wind, pets, small children playing baseball. And you want to make sure that it has access to rain and snow during the
So
winter.
don't put it out on your porch.
So we're not on your porch because you want the rain and the snow to fall in here, and somewhere where it can drain. You know, you wouldn't want to put it on a nice teak deck or something. You just put it out in your
Okay.
garden, nice level place, and leave it there until spring and when it's warm. Because when the ground is frozen, there's very little you have to do. Starting in March, that's when you have to pay attention. When it gets a little warmer, you'll want to make sure that it has water, and you'll want to make sure that it doesn't get too hot. But the instructions for that will be included in your kit. You'll have full instructions on how to take care of it and where to transplant it, where to find a good home for it. And I hope you have a wonderful time assembling your kits, and when spring comes, don't forget in March to look inside and see when your little sprouts start coming out. And after you've transplanted them in your garden, please take pictures, send them to the library. I'd love to see them. Thank you for your time today. If you have an interest in learning more about winter sowing, at the bottom of this video there will be links to Trudy Davidoff's website and other websites that tell you about winter sowing if you want to try it with different seeds. Thank you.